Good morning, MAS. I miss you guys so much. It is Miss McQuality. I am going to read Ada Twist Scientist by Andrea Beatty, and it's illustrated by David Roberts. So here we go. This is one of my favorite books. So there she is. This is Ada. Ada Twist Scientist. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. She learned how to climb and made her big break, with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Now she is sleeping. And there's her brother. It's a messy room. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed on the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and simply asked, "Why?" So her first words were "why?" Why does it tick? Why does it tock? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was all about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it all out." So all that time when Ada wasn't talking, she was looking at things and asking herself why. Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid. Why? What? How? When? Why? Why does it do that? Well, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. So let's make a prediction. Do you think as Ada grows and gets older, do you think she's going to start asking more in-depth questions like a scientist? Or is she just going to ask why? Or is she going to make those questions bigger? I don't know. Let's find out. Even her teacher, Miss G, found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that mockingbirds sing, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up from her toes. "Zowie," said Ada, which got her to thinking. What is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know that there's something to smell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She started at the start, where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. And here she goes, her first mystery. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true: that terrible stink came from my dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew It was time to come up with hypothesis 2. That means that her first guess, her first hypothesis, was wrong. It wasn't her dad's stew, so that smell had to be coming from somewhere else. Then zowie! The stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2. It was caused by a cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume or some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. It failed. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop!" So she's looking at her kitty, and then she's going to put it in the washer. What's she doing? Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now. By the time we count to 3. Enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said no. What? Ada said. Her father said, go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. Did Ada make a mistake? Was she doing anything wrong? Or was she just being a scientist? She sat in her thinking chair, all alone, by herself in the hall, and Ada, once more, could say nothing at all. There she is. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and Stu and the cat, and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that a part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 more questions. And some more of those questions turned into 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. So you can see, she started with that stinky smell. She went to the cat, maybe some perfume on the cat. All these questions she has. Is it the stew? I don't know. Well, she's thinking, why? Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair was now the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was all about? They smiled and whispered, we'll figure it all out. So all of that thinking that Ada had been doing, she was writing on the walls. Do you think Ada's parents are mad at her for writing on the walls? I don't. Because she's showing them that she's a scientist. And that's what they did, because that's what they do when your kid has a passion and a heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. So now her family is helping her. So I don't think that they were angry. They just needed to figure out that they needed to help her. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover the stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question. And someday, who knows? This is Ada with her class. What did they make? They created something. And they all have a different item in their jar. A different smell. The end. And then this one, stinky shoes. So maybe all along it was the stinky shoes. Well, I hope you guys had an amazing spring break, and we miss you so much. We'll do more read alouds, but all right, bye guys.